is that it just flows with whatever people are most interested in. But I'm going to get the ball rolling, and I'm going to welcome back all of our speakers. So welcome back Patricia, Amanda Appel, Daphne, and Juan Pablo. So thank you for joining us. And to get the ball rolling, but do feel free during this, jump in at any point in time and ask questions that you have. So it's intended to be a conversation. But I'll get started, and I'll ask Patricia, what was your best learning that you took from the different talks that people had, and what do you think you can apply in your organization?
Well, I think there are several learnings because I think each of the talks that we saw in here talk in different kind of ways of transformation. Each one of them talk about some mindset transformation, as Amanda said in her talk. And for me, it seems with all the things that we have been talking, it seems like it gives the impression that we have a lot of work for developers, for example. So, because at times they don't like too much to do some things, or the people at the organization doesn't want to change too much things. So it seems like a lot of work, but it's more, and I think it happens almost in all the talks that we have today. But that's not the idea, right? The idea is that to get people and teams more aware of the product they are building or the things they are doing to get to be better in their daily basis, and also being more efficient if we want to, and being happier. So it's not to have more tasks or more things to do. Is about that, okay, let's change this mindset to make our lives better and to be even happier. So I think that change management message that we should bring to our teams and to our organization and structures is a super powerful message. It's not about giving you more work. That's not the idea. The idea is to change, to be happier with our works in our environments, to bring more value if we want to, or to bring value itself. So I think that's a super powerful message. The mindset, the transformation mindset, and how to deal with that change management process.
Great. And has anybody any insights on that? Because I've tried to push that message, but as I just said there, I'm pushing the message. So it's very much you're telling me to change. So how have people dealt with that? Anybody want to jump in? Amanda, I guess your talk was very much on the mindset. So
I think that's because, yeah.
Sorry, I think there was a
Daphne,
connection issue.
Daphne, are you saying something? Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think there might be a connection issue with Daphne's connection.
Yeah, can you hear?
Yeah. Oh, Rory, as you asked me, and I need to share something with you, that I don't believe in a digital transformation that is not like top down. It needs to be top down. So the C board needs to be buying with this message. Without that, it's going to be really hard to do the change. And as I said, every transformation is hard. So imagine a digital one is even harder, because you need to change some process that people might think that work. As you said before, when we were talking, they think that work, that bring it value, but it's not the most that we can achieve. So I believe that you need to have like the buy-in from the C board to do that. Without you are going to fail.
And
In fact,
how? Yeah.
sorry. No. I was going to say that, in fact, I have always been thinking that when you do any kind of transformation, more than top down, for me, it's even better if you do like a sandwich that you need the top down, but if you start showing results, uh, working some doing experimentation, for example, in some teams with some concepts or technologies or tools or frameworks, and you start to do that sandwich movement, I think it's even better, because you can see things that are happening, or improvements that are happening in the environment, that, oh, the other ones start to say like, oh my god, yes, it's true, it's working, and it brings more engagement, easier and faster, I think.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Patty. I believe that we need to have both, like the board buy-in with the digital transformation, and also you need to bring people in the middle, manage, for example, that are going to help you to do that. And I believe that a good way of trying to implement and trying to show success is choosing maybe a department that you are more aligned with, that you have more access to the director from that department, to try to build this experiment together and try to prove value for the whole company. And then other departments are going to look and see, oh, maybe I should try to do that way also.
Yeah, I love the sandwich metaphor, because I work a lot with people who are called the squeezed middle. Like, so the middle managers get the squeeze from both sides, because they still have the C-leveler saying, we want this, we want the faster and the more effective, better collaboration products, but they don't change the KPIs for the middle managers. So the middle managers still need to follow their old practices. So how do you help with that? How do you try to make that change? Does anybody, Juan Pablo, just any insights from you on this?
Well, I really agree with the sandwich, like the bottom up. Sometimes I see that a team is doing something that I say, oh, I want this, I want more of this. I'd like 3 times this that you are doing, like a research in one aspect, or one project that you did something that bring the team together. So, hey, please, let's do a presentation. Let's share this with the other people in the company. I think that helps. It's not like a one-man crusade. It's not what works. You have to keep doing it and get allies. I think that's very important. But in more like the other side, I think that you cannot change culture just like that. It's more like a work, and sometimes you need to get a one middle or senior level who that mindset to do things more like more easier. That I think it's both. It's a combination. So I think that showing results is very important. It's the little steps, but showing how it works, so to start to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
Great.
I remember, because of what you're saying, Juan Pablo, on the, I don't know if you know the lean software development, like a statement, like is think big, fail fast, learn rapidly, but start small. So I think that's super important also. And I think we have been talking about it also today, that don't go with the big upfront things and big upfront design of everything. Start small, start experimenting with small things, and try to do changes on a gradually, because if you try to do something, a big bang and changing the whole thing, maybe you should fail on that. You have to start small, experimenting gradually, not to change the whole thing, and get allies. I think it's super, super important. Super agree with you, Juan Pablo. Super agree.
Yes, I also agree with you, Patty. And maybe start like with metrics, like you are measuring your funnel and trying to implement improvements, and then you are going to show to other departments, to your company, look what we have done with this small metric, with this small part of our product. And then maybe you are going to go step by step and trying to achieve more metrics and try to prove, look, we have like important metric here, important number, the conversion that we want to improve. So we don't need to have like projects to do that. Let us emerge on this metrics. Let us try to learn with our customers to see what we can do here, and do A/B tests and trying to improve, like I said, step by step, and in achieving that buy-in from other departments and stakeholders.
I'm going to throw a curveball question in here. So I used to be fully on board with kind of show the data, and the data will convince people, and once you have that, then you'll get the buy-in. And then when I kept doing it, I kept getting, well, what about? So, okay, in your example there, this worked, but what about this? Or I'll then figure that out, and then, no, but what about something else? So I've actually flipped it to, it's the narrative and the data supports it a bit. Has anybody had similar experience?
Yeah, for sure. Yes,
I'm
in
sure
fact, for
that all of
example,
us.
yeah. For example, in the example I was telling you in the Q&A, that this stakeholder that told me, oh, you're paying too much tech debt. But when you have data and you have numbers, it's super objective. The things, those are objective things. And as human beings, we're super good to start doing assumptions of things. It's super natural of human beings. So when you have the data, and you show, for example, okay, this is happening, but if we do and try to do not necessarily forecasts, but if you do simulations of other scenarios, and you can show, let's see, if we have now this data and we have these behaviors, what if we continue with this behavior? Maybe we could reach this solution or this point. If we start to we not keep growing as fast, for example, and we decrease our, we will behavior like this, and you start to show some behaviors, trying to do this kind of simulations as time forecasts also, and people will start to think like, oh, it seems that it seems that maybe that's a possibility. I mean, it's not just like the data itself, and then try to guess or try to draw different scenarios, because you are also want to say, maybe we could have this, and these are super simulated scenarios that are not 100% real. We have risks, but maybe you can do some forecast with, I don't know, 70% of confidence, for example, with statistical simulations and things like that, based on real data. And that's even more powerful when you have conversations.
Great.
Yes.
Daphne, I think, is back from some technical difficulties there. Are you with us, Daphne? Maybe not. Okay, I was going to ask a question about the sandwich, because I think it'd be really interesting, but we'll wait a few more minutes. Juan Pablo or Amanda, do you have any kind of stories or experience with that kind of having to tell the narrative, the story behind your data?
I thought immediately thought about what you said, because it struck me like it did happen to me. Uh, a few times you feel that data is not enough, because many people would ask, but what about this? Couldn't be this influence in the data? So they try to find the hole in what you're explaining with data. So I think you have to really do your homework and be prepared for the the what people would talk about this, and come with assumptions. As Patty said, we are really we have tendency to assumptions, even when we are presenting data. We sometimes I know that I have an idea and try to find the data to support it, even if it's not the otherwise, which is the correct, the right way to do it. So we have our biases, and that's okay. But if you have more than one metric, and you have a hypothesis, and you have a narrative, I think you said about narrative, it's very important, because you're constructing what you think it's happening, and a hypothesis, a theory, and you support it with 2-3 metrics, and you have room for more questions, but sometimes you don't know why this is happening. So the other thing that it's very important is research or understanding what's behind those metrics. And if you have this complete view, it's more likely to succeed in what you are presenting. And if you do it a couple of times, I think it would come a better result, and you can build trust in that way. I really feel about what you said, that, oh, I showed them data and it's not enough. They keep asking for something that they don't understand. But I think we have keep pushing and be more prepared to have a complete with no holes in what we are trying to communicate. But it's I think it's very interesting topic about this.
And I believe that's something that we should pay attention, is that we are trying to attract a negotiation with a person. So you should try to understand that person. What that person most you value? Is data, is the customer experience, or is the customer feedback? So try to bring to that conversation those elements, and try to understand who are you talking with, what that person most you value to the negotiation or the meeting that you are going to have. I believe that this is so important, and you are going to be more successful, because people are different and values different parts of the different part of things.
I was thinking exactly the same, Amanda and Juan Pablo. I think we really have to empathize with our internal clients to make sure that we understand them, that we can speak exactly the same vocabulary as well, because all of us, each of us, we have our own expertise and our own verbs or names that people not necessarily are going to understand easily. So we have to make sure that we understand them, we negotiate with them, and I think this is also part of the human-centered culture, because you really have to understand who is in front of you, to make sure that you can answer the doubts they would have, the question they would have, and to make sure that they will be ready to build with you and to make things happening within the structure now.
One thing that I found, and I always try to make the questions a little difficult. I fully agree, and it's all about what's the person's motivation. But I encountered a person, their motivation was predictability. They wanted to just know everything. It had to be predictable. And when I was advocating for more kind of fast-paced iterations, it started messing with the predictability. So when we were trying to negotiate, and I was showing the data of how we were moving faster and how all of this, but it was conflicting with what their goal was. How have you experienced or managed that, where the two of you are just completely coming at it from different angles?
I believe that Patty shared with us some good metrics that we should at least try to use, and that could bring us more predictability. Yes, you should try to use the throughput, the lead time from your squads, to try to show to this stakeholder or partner that you could have some kind of predictability. You're not going to ace it, but it's going to be really close to that.
And also you have to think with those people, because many times it's not just one, but many areas, many teams or things like that. What are our goal? Like, what is our North Star for all of us, for the organization, for the clients? And at the end, you can start thinking collaboratively. How should we help to get to this goal, to this huge goal, each one with its own knowledge, with our own expertise, and how we should collaborate there. So you can get like a drill down of metrics. Sometimes you're going to share some goals or things like that, and to make sure that everybody is going to see exactly the same, to focus exactly on the same main goal.
And also, I think I agree with what you all have said, and having in mind also what you said before, Daphne. I think that's super important when you are super aware that you're working with people and try to empathize how people prioritize the things they want to. Maybe the goal is the same, but you have kind of persons that are more analytical ones. Other ones are more driver, and they want to make decisions easy, quick, faster. There are other ones that are much more emotional, and they want to have to make a decision thinking of what is going to happen for the same goal to the people that is working with me at the organization. And other ones are much more sociable. So when you have different kinds of personalities, and you go there to negotiate or to show them data, the way you have to communicate to them the message you want to, for all they want the same goal, but you have to, that person is more emotional. Maybe I show the data, but I show also, I don't know, some like emotional related things to this. Is going to be easier to negotiate with that person. Or maybe this is super analytical. Okay, I will give them the data,
Sure.
and even more data. So
yeah,
you have to have that.
and you also, I just love what you've said. You also have to think, because we are within huge organization, for example, we are within teams, so you also have like social interaction. You have to think on the human, but this human is within, is he influencing by some of the other people? Is he part of other teams with whom he's working? So all this mapping, the ecosystem map, can help you as well to make sure that, okay, if I want to move that one, I should maybe start collaborating with this one, and maybe speaking with that other one, understand the ecosystem, the context, the goal, the emotions, also the fears or things like that, to make sure that I understand with whom I'm working with, and where could we start finding like collaboration or ideas which could go together or things like that.
Great. One thing that just popped into my mind when we were talking earlier, the sandwich bit, like, so top down, bottom up. There's also kind of a third one of in from the side, and maybe it's related to what you're doing, Daphne, maybe not exactly, but it's where you bring in external people. So now I've seen a lot of people like when we talk about the human side of it, that causes problems for people because they're saying, well, why have they brought in these outsiders? Why don't we just do it ourselves? Does anybody experience that, or did you get any pushback, Daphne, on you coming in to do this transformation of human-centered design?
Yeah, I think we've failed a lot, for example, by bringing new people which didn't understood anything about business or didn't know anything about banking or thing like that, and or wanted to go really, really quick. Okay, this is a new way of doing, and we're doing it really fast, and you're just starting to collaborate with a team which is not working in the same way like this one. So you just have a wall in front of you. So this is quite interesting regarding the learnings. And I was thinking maybe instead of thinking of a sandwich, I would maybe use like a neuronal structure or thing like that. Like you can connect it dots and like that you can move all an organization. And
that's
also
a great analogy.
the interesting part as well is, for example, in our bank we were working with so many providers. And many of them, it was, okay, this is a contract, we purchase, we pay, we want this, like that. And starting including providers, including clients, final clients, internal clients, external clients, was quite amazing to make people change of mind. And to make them understand that, okay, so yes, for example, there is a fantastic way of collaborating, which is like sketching, because I can go and see a provider and say, okay, I would like an app with those features and things like that, and I can have a Word document with the features listed. But if I start like drawing the ideas I have, and the provider is going to see my draw, you can't make mistake, for example, about collaborating there. So it's quite interesting to not only think about who should be there, but how should we communicate together, and how should we visualize the results, or thing like that.
That's a really great example, because I've talked to a lot of agencies and they're like, I'd love to work like this with people, but the problem is my contract is so strict, and it's kind of, this is all I can do, and this is kind of, how do you overcome that if the contracts are already in place and people have to do this and they have to meet certain deadlines or things? How do you get that more fluid collaboration?
One thing that we are starting to do, it's like, because for example, many times we're thinking about the experience, how we should evaluate the experience. So you can think, okay, I can also evaluate the satisfaction between a provider and the client, or between, I don't know, for example, one structure, one area of the bank with another one, purchase with a digital center or thing like that. So by getting that kind of indicators and iteration and getting feedback, you can have interesting things. Many times you would have like to do, I don't know how to say, like addendum or a new, like, and to add something new to the contract, or to make a contract totally different, because there regarding the country you will have like or financial, how do you say, like when you pay something, fines or
Penalties.
things like that. Yeah, penalties. So I think when you already have those contracts, it's a bit harder, but you should think about, okay, all of us, for example, Patty was saying, we want to be happier with by working, by producing, or thing like that. So I think it's also the interest of the provider to make sure that his team are going to be happier, are going to build things, better products, better features, or whatever they are building, or better services, and to make sure that we are thinking together in this way of enhancing a bit the experience of collaborating there.
Sorry, I was mute there. Yeah. I also think that something that's super needed when you work with with vendors or even with internal clients, or that almost everyone always tells you that, okay, we want to transform ourselves to blah, to cheese, whatever. Okay, let's do things, and you can start to propose new things and new ways of doing things and frameworks and tools and activities, yada, 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 yada. And stakeholders, vendors, everyone starts to say, oh, but we don't have the time to do that. Oh, we don't have the capacity to do that. And it's like, okay, you can't have everything in the world without losing something. So this are trade-offs. You want this? Yes, you want this. You told me you want to do this. I also want to do this, and I can put some effort, but I cannot do this alone. And then is when you start to negotiate with the stakeholders or vendors, or to try to say, okay, let's we won't do this, or if you want to, let's do this. But which is the trade-off? You have to lose something. Maybe I don't know, two people from your team start to work with us. I don't know. Let's see different options, because it's impossible to deliver the same thing, or working the whole day in the same thing, and not, and also you are expecting to be a super magical change in the world. So that kind of conversations are the difficult ones, but it's like, okay, as time is like, okay, well, let's try this, or and it's not easy.
Yeah, they are not easy. And I don't know, here in Brazil, the word agile sometimes means like fast. People think that you are going to deliver all the things faster. And this is not the way, but I believe that also when you are chatting with someone that doesn't understand the framework, the first thing that they got in mind is that it's going to be faster. And that's not the way. It's going to be, how could I say, we're going to create more value working in different ways that can be faster, but this is not our main objective. So I believe this is something that we need to work in people's mind and in our stakeholders in the company.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think we are building and shipping a lot and taking the most of time fixing bugs and delivering and doing rework or refactors, and to go faster in more needle moving things or product or features or whatever. You need to slow down, bring people together and think and talk, and you have to stop the rush 1 minute to go faster later, or more, not faster but deeper. So it's counterintuitive. It's agile, or doing this way is not faster, and you have to slow down also to do some things. You need to stop doing some things to start to do another things that not necessarily is most people perceive as doing shipping. So it's very interesting, that point.
Yeah, my favorite example of that exact point was, we were working on a big project, and we uncovered something that was a fundamental problem in what we were doing. But the managers at the time said, no, keep the devs going while we figure out what's going on. But we knew the devs were building something wrong, but they didn't want the devs to not be working on it because they had to keep going. But we ended up causing more problem because we had to undo it then when we figured out what the right thing to do was.
And this also happens a lot. For example, like many times people want to build something and are going to think, okay, this would be the problem or the potential solution. And at the end, if you spend a bit more time thinking and understanding a better way of getting the good problem, like, okay, I had that problem at the beginning, maybe I'm going to spend with a bit of investigation, of research, and with stakeholders to understand better and more deeper, and to reformulate this problem will help to go in the good way, instead of getting with a bad definition of a problem, which would get really low value or low impact or thing like that, and or which wouldn't solve at all something, because it's not a good problem.
Yes, but I totally agree with Rory. We are discussing here, but it's really hard to do and to put in practice, because I don't know if everybody feels the urge to deliver. You need to deliver something. You need to put a new feature on your product, and sometimes the stakeholders doesn't want to think. They just want like to build, to do. You have like an idea today, and tomorrow, oh, when is going to be ready? When are you going to deliver this feature to our clients? So it's hard, and you need to sometimes push it back and say, let's breathe, let's think, let's try to understand the problem that we are trying to solve. Let's discuss this with our customers to see if it's a real problem or not. But I agree, it's really hard to do. It's not easy. And sometimes you're going to win, and sometimes we're going to fail.
That ties actually nicely with the question that we have from the audience, from Rodrigo. He's saying that he's a UX researcher, and he's getting all of this data, but the problem is whenever he tries to present it, people just push it back, going, no, we just want the final screen. So take that data and you come up with the answer. Do you have any advice on what you would do? Because he recognizes that he's coming up with his biased or subjective opinion. What advice would you give that he can tell people the value of the data, so that as a group they can decide what the best thing to build is? Does anybody have advice for that?
Something, I don't know if it's going to be useful for Rodrigo, but something that has been useful for me in past lives even is that you have to look for those moments where you can start like teaching something super small related to some metric or some data. For example, if you're on delivery team and you are doing showcases or demos to show your progress to an audience, usually there are some stakeholders or other areas, and inside the whole showcase or demo you can put one slide showing infographic information about some metrics related to times of delivery or things like that, or a kind of burn up, and start to, oh, this burn up shows how much, or the behavior of the delivery and the behavior of the backlog, how it's growing, and super easy. So then when you have to have a tough discussion, they already know what are you talking about, and it's easier. And if you have to introduce some new concept, it's just a new little concept. The other ones, the people already know, because they have already seen it in other opportunities. So this is a way to use it. Or for example, not just showcases. If your team is doing kind of newsletters on a monthly way, on a monthly basis, for example, you can do that also between all the information, like, oh, okay, a pill, metrics pill, I don't know, or data pill. So then the users or stakeholders are going to get used to see information of that kind.
Yeah, and I also think there, for example, it's quite interesting, because many times they're asking for data to make decisions. And when you're going to get like data with users, for example, you're going to get like quali and quanti. And it's quite important there to make sure that people understand, because everybody in an organization is going to say, yeah, I'm always thinking in my client. Okay, how are you doing it? So making sure that people would understand and will listen verbatims the way people are speaking. Like, okay, in social network, people are speaking about that topics with those words. So it's a way of showing a video of users, inviting them to go seeing users in real context is quite fantastic. Listen, like, for example, hearing call center, being an assistant in a call center, like you can send a vice president there, someone like a product owner. People should start understanding really what's happening when you're interacting with people, to understand really what's happening with the products and the services, because many times each of us have a point of view. So the idea of the UX designer, for me, in my opinion, a UX designer is not there to get the perfect solution, because they're never a perfect solution, but it's more like a moderator, a facilitator, someone who is going to help a team, an organization to understand the customer, to bring the customer within the team to build better products. So it's not like, okay, I'm a UX designer and this is a solution. No, I'm a UX designer and we're going to build it. So, but you have to understand how people are thinking or interacting or things like that. What are the emotions of the people while interacting with our products or services? And also, I think a good way of getting iteration with the people, for example, if we have a weekly review or thing like that to get these results, to share those results, it's to make sure that, okay, this week our hypothesis was that point, and we wanted to try it with the customers. So we've built that prototype and we've learned this. We've understood that this was totally working. This was totally failing, and we're learning. So, and the new hypothesis for next week would be this. And so like that, you can get get better things and better information shared with your stakeholder, I think.
Yes, and I also would say to Rodrigo, try to think why this stakeholder, those person doesn't want to listen or to see those data. Is he presenting in the correct time, in the correct meeting? Is he trying to put a lot of data at once? So it would be good, as Patty said, to put some small step by step, try to understand why are you thinking that they are not interesting about? They don't see the importance, they don't see how you're going to use the data to do a better experience. Try to understand that.
Amanda, here you've said something quite interesting, because also how my data is impacting this person, this area, this team. For example, okay, look, my data is saying that this is happening, and maybe this is a negative impact for this team. So you should manage it, and there you really have to make sure that, okay, I'm not saying you're doing a bad job, because this is not the fact, but I would like to make sure that we would think together. But you really have to think that when you are sharing information, knowledge with anybody, because you can also get bad emotion while listening your information, because of that kind of things now.
Yeah. I'll just finish up. We're actually over time now, but the conversation could keep going. I think I slightly misinterpreted his question. I think he's saying he doesn't have time to do the data. He just has to be kind of pumping out screens all the time. So my suggestion, Rodrigo, is make two quite dramatically different designs your next time and present both of them. And kind of say, okay, this design, this is my hypothesis behind this design, and this is my hypothesis behind this one. And that way you can, because I've been there where people think, oh, I'll just design it, like it doesn't really make a difference. But they don't see that there's a million different ways. In their head, there's only one or two kind of designs, and it won't make that big a difference. So try to present some that contrast quite sharply, and then that will get people to start thinking, okay, there's more ways of doing this. And I'll put a link to a talk where, just in terms of the value, there was a talk from Cartroller at a previous UXDX event where she said one line of copy changed their conversion by 80%. one line of copy. So that just kind of shows how you really need the data to kind of figure out what's the best thing to do, and you could be leaving so much money behind if you don't. Well, thank you everybody for the conversation. It was really enjoyable. I thought it flowed really well. So thank you again.